Lechuza is the original self-watering planter brand. So the brand themselves, Lechuza, are or was made by the Playmobil company and manufactured by the Playmobil company in Germany. I'm sure a lot of the participants in today's Zoom are or is aware of Lechuza and their qualities. So I was going to put a little video on for everyone, but I think I'll skip past that and give everyone a link so they can obviously watch it in their own time. But the video is basically just an idea on how the systems actually work themselves. So I will obviously circulate this to everyone. So who is Lechuza? So Lechuza has been around since 2000. They have been the #1 brand of products or #1 brand that has provided recycled and repurposed plastic planters back to the market for use after it's obviously gone to landfill. So the brand itself is owned by a larger company called Geobrator. So they are a group that own Playmobil and Lechuza. You're more than knowledgeable in knowing that Playmobil are fantastic toys, and we probably played with a lot of these toys when we were younger. So the same factory where the toys are made is the same factory where Lechuza planters are actually made as well. So in terms of obviously the product quality and in terms of the product lifespan, you'd expect it to be of a very high quality. So Lechuza doesn't only just make planters, they also make other accessories as well, such as furniture, which are also available for garden centers and for hotel and commercial use. Currently, Lechuza's sold in 70 countries globally, and the UK and Irish markets belong to us, Instadecor Limited. So we've got the right of distribution of Lechuza brand in these zones. So the vision and the purpose of what Lechuza is. So the main concept of why Lechuza was designed and brought to life was down to the fact that a lot of users were killing off their plants by either overwatering or underwatering. This is obviously a very key element in terms of getting new user base and also increasing your productivity with maintenance on current sites that you currently have. So based on the study made by Lechuza, plants are actually 20% more healthier. They get more bloom, they get more buds, flowers compared to other planters on the market. And this is all designed by the fact that there's a reservoir built on the inside that feeds the unit from the bottom up instead from the top down. Obviously, as most of you are probably aware, watering from the top of any plant generally is generally quite bad for the plant in terms of the rooting structure and in terms of the density of moisture in the soil. Not all of the soil will be, I would say, watered to a certain degree. There'll be dry areas within the soil root ball where water and the roots will not be touched. The design concept was to have colors, shapes, and design for every customer in mind. So whether it's a standard classic egg planter or small table planter like which is shown in the presentation right now, there's a color, shape, and design and finish for every single type of customer that you could probably think of. If there isn't one, Lechuza can make you one. So there's a bespoke service available for a specific color code that you can provide to us, and depending on how many quantities and batch qualities you need, Lechuza can actually produce them for your projects. The third was obviously competitive pricing to increase profitability for businesses. So for all Plants at Work members, currently Lechuza offers a 50% reduction from the RRP, and that allows all the businesses to make a profitable increase in return when doing the installation or selling those units onto their clients. So based on this, it's quite attractive to be using Lechuza planters on your sites because A, they are self-watering. You'll spend less time managing and watering those units. B, you've got multiple choices of color, shapes, and sizes that can be quoted for every single tender type that you've got available. And then C, obviously, you're making a larger margin at the end, in line with what your business needs are. So obviously there's quite a few studies that have happened through the years, and generally why you would use a planter, and I'm sure all of you could probably agree to these and probably even add a lot more to the topics that I'm raising today. But using live plants and planters within a confined space obviously is a natural air and pollution cleanser. So depending on the plant type or the substrates that you're using, you can actually clean a lot of the pollution that is circulating within an office environment or a small and medium-sized office with no ventilation or air conditioning, I would say. So a study done by the University of Birmingham and RHS has found that having plants within any environment or any closed environment will reduce the nitrogen oxide levels anywhere between 20% down to 3.5%, depending on the size of the room and how many plants are being introduced into that environment. The more plants you have and planters you have, the higher that cleansing rate is. Even if you were to have one or two, it's still some sort of cleansing. It's not going to be as a higher effect compared to the 20%, but it will still have some sort of cleansing effect of the year. The other reason that we would highly like to point out is obviously noise reductions in offices. A lot of offices are in tandem, side by side, sitting desks, and some are separated with divider walls to kind of dense that noise out, to dampen that noise out. Others are divider walls which are screened out of moss walls, etc. But plants themselves are generally known to reduce noise in an office environment. So if we're sitting within an environment where there's about 4 to 10 people sitting within a room, everyone's on the phone at similar time frames or having a conversation, the noise will resonate off straight and glossy surfaces. With the addition of plants or planters in an environment, they will actually reduce the amount of noise, or sound dampening as we would call it. So it will actually reduce and block out some sounds via the leaves and via the stems. So it breaks the waves down of that sound, and by the time it gets to the end point, it's slightly muffled or reduced. And then there's a connection with nature as well. So in all office environments, especially in London, I would say that it's a concrete jungle kind of feel. So as you're walking around the streets of London, everything's quite grey, it's quite dark, it's quite stony, it's quite medieval, Victorian, as you would call it. And as you enter an environment where there's no longer a green space, we're obviously not exposed to the natural microbes within that specific area. So what I mean by the natural microbes is if I was living further up north of London, i.e. Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, I'd be exposed to more nature's environments or nature's microbes, which will benefit me with a strengthened immune system compared to if I was living inside a city centre where greenery or urban landscaping is obviously reduced due to the building space and office space which is occupied currently. So a study was done here. I have got the name somewhere, by a Swedish company. And they had obviously exposed that having a high immune system was benefited by working in an environment which was green, it was open, in comparison to working in an office environment or an office or a city-based environment. So a couple of the pain points that we kind of see with our current businesses and traders that we work with is, firstly, it's an inconsistent supply of stocks. What most of our businesses that we do work with do let us know that the current suppliers on the market right now are, I would say, at a stage where manufacturing or production is beginning for next year. So a lot of the stock supplies are limited and low. Second thing is the amount of cost and logistics that are being put forward to these manufacturers to transit goods from Europe or from further away, China, Vietnam, America into the UK, is adding a toll onto the product prices itself. So being a UK-based business, we're based in Dunstable. We've got a 40,000 square foot warehouse, which I think Kenneth, Ian, Joanna have all been invited to and have seen. It's a massive facility that we have here, specifically dedicated to planters. So the stock is always going to be on the ground, ready to go, and we can actually shorten the lead time for planters being delivered to a project location from what your current supplies are, between 14 and 21 working days, down to 1 to 5 working days, depending on obviously where your location is and where your delivery postcode needs to be. This also adds value to the business as well, because the business doesn't need to have to place orders early in advance or waste time in having to procure goods in advance, or do shopping, I would say, to find who has stock and who doesn't have stock. So obviously, as a UK-based business in Dunstable, the stock is ample and it's readily available. We have a vehicle that transits from Germany to the UK every 10 days. So stock which is running low is generally replenished and replaced very often. And with a lot of our wholesalers, the larger ones that we do work with, we generally build up a history list of products which would be ordered in on a frequent basis. So businesses like PHS, for example, specifically will buy rondos, specific color, specific size through the year. And we understand that on a historical basis that we need to have these products available and on site for this business. So there is no delay in shipping. There is an odd occasion where products can be sold on to a business that can come in out of the blue and buy stock off us in bulk. But we generally work with all of our wholesalers and there's trade businesses to make sure that the stock is always there for their business as and when they need it. The lead times for delivery, as I stated before, is 1 to 5 working days. If you are in London, or if you have a project in London, we can actually do a same-day service or a next-day service. So we have a dedicated truck. We have 2 vehicles, 2 dedicated vehicles that can cater to Greater London and surrounding cities. So we can send vehicles up to Birmingham for large projects, etc., if it's an urgent project that needs it. And also, obviously, with buying in from EU suppliers currently, such as New Group and Cobalt, etc., there's obviously complications with the whole Brexit facility and restrictions and red tapes which are currently in place. Obviously, increased logistical costs in terms of how many trolleys to buy. If you're buying just 1 or 2 items and you're having to pay for a full trolley on delivery, our aim is obviously to reduce that for you guys and try and save you guys as much money as possible in the long run. So these are the kind of pain points that a lot of the businesses that we do currently work with haven't mentioned to us. If you do have any other pain points, feel free to obviously jot them down for me and let me know at the end of the presentation. I'm more than happy to see what we can do for your business. So Lechuza itself is an ISO certified business. The factory where the products actually produced are produced with a sustainability in mind. So the energy consumption management is highly rated on the European and the UK scale, and also our environmental message that we provide to businesses as well. So our aim is obviously always to meet the minimum requirement, but also go above and beyond that. Okay, so all of the products that you do purchase from us from a Lechuza factory or from Playmobil will have an ISO certification which can be provided to your businesses. A lot of the larger businesses will require this as a mandatory measure, just to ensure that the product is coming from a sustainable and an environmentally safe background. So these certificates are available on our website, and we can obviously circulate these for you. And they will be expiring at the end of this year, just so you guys are aware, but new ones will be reissued for 2023 when those dates obviously finish. Okay, so Lechuza is obviously designed to have recycling in mind. A lot of businesses out there are putting products or plastic products onto the market with no acceptance of how that product can be broken down or where that product will end up, or what will happen to that product? Lechuza's responsibility for producing products that are made of recycled materials is to be able to recycle those at the end of their life as well. So firstly, Lechuza obviously recycles about 990 tons of plastic every year, which is destined for landfill. So taking out a considerable amount of plastic, which is destined to go into the ground, turn into microplastics, end up in the ocean, etc. Lechuza is aiming to pull these plastics out and turn them into a product which can be obviously used or repurposed as in a planter, and offset that by having a plant being put inside of it for continuously good carbon footprint of that product. The product itself can be recycled at the end of its lifespan as well. So the products can be sent back to us here in the UK to this facility. They will then be collected and collated and sent back to Germany, where they will then be broken down, melted, and be turned into new pots again. So there's a forever circle or a life circle of our products where they should never ever end up in the ground. They should never end up they should never be able to be broken down or to be used in any other way apart from the way that we obviously envision them to be. The manufacturing side of the product. So the plant itself in Germany has a cistern or water tank underground. This cistern or water tank collects rainwater, and this rainwater which is collected is used in production. So there's no fresh water or any type of freshwater resource which is being pulled from Germany as a country or to be taken from any lakes or rivers nearby. So the rainwater which is used is filtered and then used in a purpose for production. The facility itself also has solar power energy, and it's run fully on solar power. So the green solar energy used by the facility is used to power the entire manufacturing process from start to finish. The only part which is fuel-based is the delivery base, which is when the products are loaded onto a vehicle and then sent out to us or sent globally to the 70 countries where it requires. But a lot of the offsetting is done by the business on the ground by using the cistern rainwater, by taking out plastic from the ground, recycling their own products at the end of their life, recycling any production waste as well. So all of the production waste that happens on the facility, as in offcuts, etc., they are then remelted and reused again. So generally the plastic that is used in these products are designed to be used in an indefinite purpose. All the packaging material that's supplied with Lechuza is also supplied in a recyclable form. So the plastic bags, the outer carton, the printed box, all of these items we have checked with our local authorities in London. They're accepted and they will be recycled. They are marked on the plastic bags with the recycling emblems. So, and across Europe as well, the same process, same production facility. So as with all the 70 countries, their aim is to obviously allow the packaging to be recycled as well as the product. So some of our best-selling products. So as I mentioned before, the Rondo 30s and the Rondo 40s, generally in the charcoal grey, the glossy white, and the espresso brown. So these are quite a popular range for office fit-outs. There are quite a few examples. I believe AC Rental Plant has just fitted out an office in Belfast, as he showed on LinkedIn, of similar types of products in a scarlet red. Then we've got our standard Classico egg planters, which are available in small sizes from 18 centimeters, and they can go up to as large units as 70 centimeters wide. The most popular colors being the slate gray, the off-white, and the sand brown. So these are the quite popular ones in terms of the matte finish. There is a glossy version or a premium version to this range as well. Same sizes as well, but you'll have a few more options in terms of colors. I think there's 7 in total for the premium range. We've got standard cubes or tall cubes. So you've got your columns and cubes, which are a stone textured effect. So the one on the left is the graphite black, and the one on the right is sand beige or taupe type color. The surface on this product is actually designed to imitate and mimic stone. So to touch and feel, it actually does feel like stone. Obviously, weight-wise, there's obviously a lack of weight due to it being made from a recycled plastic. Same systems as before, so they're all fully self-watering systems. They've got reservoirs built on the inside of them, so they'll continuously keep feeding themselves until the water runs out. Balcony boxes and cabinet toppers. So these are quite popular for a lot of the larger businesses who want to use them in and around restaurants, for trailing ivies, or to use them on cabinet tops just to add some color. There's multiple range of surfaces, textures, and colors which are available in all of the ranges that we do have for the Balconera. And size-wise, you're looking at 50 centimeters and 80 centimeters. So they don't occupy too much space, but they allow you to add some greenery to the space that we have, or the limited spaces that you may have in certain office type conditions. And there's also brackets for these as well. So if you did want to hang them to a wall or make a feature wall out of them, they can obviously be assorted in a manner where they can be hung to a wall, where it's a nice feature to have, especially if you're looking to add something to a wall feature. And then our best-selling mineral pond, quite high in demand at the moment. I would say it's probably one of the best ones on the market. I believe there's only 2 or 3 businesses out there which are offering this type of product to a retail and commercial aspect. But Lechuza pond is basically our mineral substrate, which is designed to mimic or reduce the use of soil or organic matters. So Lechuza pond has got so many benefits. I'm just going to move on to the next slide and I'll break down the ingredients for you. So 4 key ingredients for pond: zeolite, BIMS, lava, and fertilizer. So having these 4 elements together allows us to create something, or a substrate, which is actually very, I would say, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. Okay, so the pond itself is designed in a way where it can actually hold air and water to its ideal optimization, which is 45-55. Zeolite obviously stabilizes the pH level within the substrate, acts as an inhibitor for fungus and for fungus gnats or pests, which can embed themselves in types of soils. It's also an inhibitor for odor. So it actually attracts and pulls itself. BIMS is designed and introduced as a high storage capacity, as it's got a lot of open air volume. And lava is a release of micronutrients to the growing plant. The fertilizer which is provided is an encapsulated fertilizer, which is slowly designed to break down or degrade over a 6 to 8 month period. After this, you can add some more hard pellet fertilizer back into your mixture, or you can go down a liquid fertilizer route. So ideally, why would you use pond over soil? So a bag of soil will generally break down and deteriorate over its period of time once it's been potted up in a pot. You would notice over time that the soil will condense in size where the nutrients are being leached up by the plant, and over time, natural degradation of an organic matter will happen. Pond is designed to eliminate that. So the pond itself is a mineral substrate which is designed to hold its weight and can keep itself as it is. It will never break down. It will never disintegrate. Yes, you will get some sort of dusting or particles on your finger because obviously they're natural stones, but it's not designed to break down. The pond substrate itself is actually designed to be reusable. So in the case of soil, which is being used currently by most outfitters within the industry, the pond can be reused and repurposed. It can be washed and sterilized and be used on another site again. You never need to throw it away once you've purchased it, okay? So pond itself is designed to give a standard and continuous capillary action to the surfaces planter. as you probably all are aware, soil, or how soil behaves, is the top 10% or 20% of soil will look dry from the top, but the remaining percent underneath that will be wet and damp. Yeah. So what this is incurring to most people or most users which are not known to planting or watering plants, they will assume that this is dry. And by doing so, they're now overwatering. Pond is designed to eliminate that. So pond has a capillary action where the dampness or the circulation of moisture is ideal and uniform to the entire planter itself. Okay, so where you will get dry patches in soil, that you will have no dry patches in the Lechuza pond. Allergy sufferers. So there's a lot of substrates out on the market which prevent allergy sufferers from obviously suffering, I would say. So soils being an organic compound or having organic material over time will break down. You have mold, you have other fungus bacterial growth which is occurring naturally in the soil, and over time allergy sufferers can actually take this in and it can actually make their asthma or their other further allergies worse. With pond, because there's no organic material, it's impossible to have this situation because there's nothing there to break down over time. It's an inorganic compound or inorganic substrate, which makes it ideal for your home or for an office. Because it's also inorganic, fungus gnats will not want to lay their eggs, nor will they want to live in such conditions. So I'm sure that most of you will probably see over time, you get fruit flies, you get fungus gnats, which will be hovering around the top of your soil or just beneath the bottom of the soil. You don't get that with pond. So planting into pond, you're actually eliminating this. And obviously using pond, it eliminates mold and fungus growth as well on the surface. So in certain cases, if there's not enough air environment or clean air passing through around the planter, you can get a white fuzz or mold, as we would call it, on the top of the soil. And our pond is designed to eliminate that. Okay. I think I've done everything. All right, so thank you for your time, everyone. Yeah, I know it's a short presentation, but I have attached some links to the site for you guys in the chat with the brochure and also with the novelties which are being released by Lechuza next year. So please do have a look at them and just let me know what your thoughts are. And I think that covers everything. Is there any questions anybody wants to ask?
Sorry, I don't know whether you mentioned this at the beginning. Our internet cut out for a little while, so I missed it. In terms of ordering, is it a case of setting up a trade account? Have we got like access to like UK stock levels and stuff like that, or is it? I don't know if you've included that in any of the documents.
I didn't. I do apologise. So you do. I can create a portal for you for the businesses that want to go down the route of having live access to our website and stock numbers.
Yeah.
The prices will obviously be marked for you, but you can also send in a generic PO as well. So I can send you guys out price lists of the products that is specific to Plants at Works members, and that price list will then allow you to generate your own POs on the pricing that I'm providing you today. Okay,
perfect. Thank you.
And yeah, as in terms of ordering, it's quite straightforward. Whether you go down the website route or whether you go down the old PO route, somebody will be allocated to you as an account handler. Ideally, most likely will be myself or Ian, who is my number 2 in the trade department, and we would upload your orders as and when you guys need it. Okay.
Perfect.
More of a comment than a question. I have to say I was really impressed with the sustainability story. I think that's something that probably isn't well enough known, and especially interested in the way that you use rainwater in the manufacturing process and the degree of recycling and reusing of the plastic. So that was an eye-opener. I knew you were a pretty green company. I hadn't realised just quite how green, and I thought that was very impressive. And also your lead times. I think again, that's something that many in the industry would absolutely welcome, especially with smaller projects, and having to the quick lead time and the fact that you can have small quantities rather than large. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Yeah.
If we've got any very old Lechuza ones, do they take them back for recycling then?
Yeah, so exactly that. So you send them to our warehouse here in Dunstable, and we will basically collect them. And then when our vehicle goes back to Germany to collect a new order or the top up for the UK market, they will hand them back over to the production facility, and they will just be broken down and be turned into new pots in the next production cycle. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it is an option there for you guys. So I can. How old are we talking?
I don't know. You'll have to ask James. They're all in our barn here. So.
Right.
No, I think that, well, like you say, they last forever. So they're great ones for us to use, because we've had some in our barn that would have been there 4, 5, 6 years, and we give them a quick clean up, and they're still good enough to go back out on site for particularly short-term rentals.
Yeah.
It's good like that. In terms of lead time, I can't see us ever needing custom shapes.
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah, that's not something we've ever considered before. But in terms of custom colours, do you know roughly what the lead time would be if we said, right, we've got a client wants to order 50 Rondo 75s, but they want it in a custom rail colour, what the lead time with that would be?
So anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks. It all depends on how many bespoke production requests are made at that time.
Okay, yeah, of course,
and how fast the team can obviously turn all of those orders over. But we normally say 4 to 8. But before you put your PO in or your quote request in, we can always double check for you before we confirm anything.
Okay,
so perfect. You can always go back to the client and say, look, this is the exact lead time that we're expecting on this bespoke.
That's great, thank you.
Do they have a minimum order that they would do for bespoke colours?
So at the moment, the minimum is 20 units. And they are looking to up that next year. The number hasn't been finally given to me as of yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. No, it's very useful. Thank you.
No, thank you all for listening and allowing me to obviously present product which probably you guys are already aware of, but just needed that little bit more information on.
Mm.
Well, I think it's absolutely brilliant presentation. Thank you. And so, Joanne, you said you recorded it so we could get it out to those members who couldn't get it today. But I think it's very good. And thank you for being the first, the first to take part in it. I think. That was a brave decision in its own right to be number one. So well done for that too. But no, I'm very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Arvin.
No
Brilliant.
problem. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.